So with DeBoer coming in, how does he build trust and bringing over his own system? He's now the coach, and now the players he wants. Do you think that will bowl over well in Alabama?
You know, one of the biggest questions about DeBoer when he took the job was not so much X's and O's. Had a great reputation for that. Obviously, a huge reputation for winning football games wherever he went. But would he be able to recruit? Would he be able to recruit in the South, where it's extremely competitive, more competitive than anywhere else, frankly? And the answer to that has been a resounding yes. I think right now he's got the number 2 signing class in the country, which is right where Saban would have Alabama every year, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, on an annual basis. And so, you know, like you said, having the players is a huge part of it. So far, it looks like DeBoer's not going to have any trouble at all attracting 5-star, 4-star guys. At least he's done that in year one. Can he do it consistently year after year? We'll see. But the early returns on that are extremely good. Now, you asked about buy-in too, though. I think the buy-in part of it takes more than just one off season, right? It takes more than 6 months. I think the buy-in starts to happen after a calendar year, after you've logged an off season and an in season. And so he's still 6 months away from that. So if you're a player in the program, you may like what's going on in the off season and not like what you see in the fall. You may not like what you've seen in the off season, and maybe what happens in the fall turns you around a little bit. But for me anyway, I think the players they're willing to buy in up front from a wait and see standpoint. But for full buy-in, I think most players like to be around for a full year before they really feel like they know what's going on.
Tuscaloosa News columnist Chase Goodbread joining us here on College Tailgate. So one of those players that has bought in, at least up front seemingly, is Jalen Milroe, because he ends up staying there. Some people were surprised by that, Chase, frankly, that he ended up staying there at Alabama after finishing 6th in the Heisman Trophy voting last season. How do you think he fits into DeBoer's system?
That's a great question. It's a big change offensively, coming from what Tommy Rees ran as an offensive coordinator last year to what DeBoer's system is that he ran at Washington. And one of the most interesting things to see this September is how wholesale will they go and switch into that Washington offense. Milroe's a super talented guy. He's got a lot of leadership qualities. He's got an outstanding deep ball. He brings an awful lot to the table from a talent standpoint. One of the issues that he had last year that he needed to improve on was getting rid of the ball a little bit quicker, right? He got sacked a whole lot last year. A lot of that was on the offensive line. Wasn't all on the offensive line. Some of it was Jalen just holding the ball too long. And the DeBoer system, you got to get rid of the ball fast. You go back and look at what Michael Penix did last year at Washington. That ball was coming out. A lot shorter routes, a lot more screen passes, things like that. So for Milroe, I think that's going to be a big adjustment, and if he's able to make it, then it's going to be great news for Alabama's offense.
Chase, how much attention is everyone in Tuscaloosa paying to what Nick Saban says on television? You know, I know the other day he explained how he picked against Alabama in the SEC because, in his words, he was giving out that reverse rat poison.
Yeah. There's no doubt that he's a TV star already in Alabama and probably everywhere else too, but maybe even more so here locally. But you know, people should remember it's not his only gig, right? He's also got a consulting gig at Alabama that they gave him. They've got him an office in Bryant-Denny Stadium, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he's getting about $500,000 a year for just consulting and handshaking and whatever else they're having him do. So from that standpoint, he's got his hand in both baskets, I guess, and I think you're going to see. I think you're going to see him bleed crimson just a little bit here on TV this fall on ESPN.
Real quick here, Chase, on the way out. At what point are Alabama fans going to potentially start turning on the DeBoer experience, or do you think that this season we're actually going to see Bama fans be a bit tempered in their approach, and they're going to give them some grace here for a season.
Yeah, you'd like to think there'd be at least one season of a grace period for a new coach, especially one that came in and had to deal with all DeBoer had to deal with from a transfer standpoint. Obviously, expectations at Alabama are as high or higher than they are on any other campus in the country. And so there's never going to be too long of a honeymoon at Alabama for any coach. But yeah, you'd like to think that DeBoer will have more than enough time to get his system in place. And, if there's some early stumbles, you'd like to think he'd get a little bit of grace. Nick Saban only went 7-6 in his first year. Remember that.
Yep.
Yeah, you'd like to think. You keep saying you'd like to think. I'm picking up on that there, Chase. I know how these fans work in Tuscaloosa. High expectations, to say the least. Chase Goodbread, you can check out his work. Tuscaloosa news columnist. Thanks, Chase. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Chase.
Enjoyed it.
It's funny, Amber. It's funny, Amber and Rashad. He mentions there in Saban's first year that he went 7-6, and you got to remember, I'm here in South Florida. I'm a Dolphin fan. Did not like the way Nick Saban left the Dolphins, so I'm rooting hard against Nick Saban at Alabama.
Yeah, it went well for you.
And then he had that first year, and they go 7-6. I'm like, nice. He's going to stink at Alabama. and then I forget if it was the second year or the third year they win the national championships. Like, this is such an effort and futility rooting against him. I am so on the losing end. It is not even worth my emotion.
It was not worth your emotions. Goes on to win 6 national titles there in 17 years. Rashad, there's zero chance those Bama fans are going to have patience, right? With DeBoer, zero chance. Rashad, you still with us?
Oh man, sorry. Excuse me. Soon as they get any sniff of inconsistency, they're going to snap and lose it, because they're accustomed to winning. They're accustomed to winning a particular way, but as soon as they see any kind of inconsistency, they're going to lose it. They're going to lose it fast too.
It's hard, man. It's a long fall from the top, Jonathan Zaza. So we will see what ends up happening with Alabama's Crimson Tide. Coming up next, though, on College Tailgate, what's happening right here is does college football need a villain without Nick Saban and without Harbaugh there in Michigan either? Who's the villain that's up next? That's all coming up your way on ESPN Radio.
The football season never ends.
We ain't done yet.
Camp to camp.
When you go through the offseason that I've been through, you want to do it again.
Team to team.
When you knock us down, we're going to get up. Unbelievable! The Super Bowl is a goal. I've been away for too long.
The countdown rolls on right here on ESPN Radio.
Are you tired of looking at your old, grimy, and mildewy bathtub? Looking to replace it with a beautiful walk-in shower, but cash is tight? For as little as $89 a month, no payments for 12 months for consumers who qualify. Remodeling loans can put you into a beautiful new walk-in shower in as little as 1 day. You can rest easy knowing that Remodeling Loans, a network of certified contractors screened and handpicked by us, offers premier products, top-rated service, and value, increasing the beauty, safety, and value of your home. A new walk-in shower will also provide you with a germ-free, slip-resistant, safe, and beautiful new bathroom. Call 800-921-1403 and take advantage of our holiday special of free installation. Our agents are standing by, ready to schedule your appointment with our design team at no cost and no obligation to you. All callers will receive a free upgrade of premium colors just for calling today. A beautiful new walk-in shower is now within reach. Call 800-921-1403. That's 800-921-1403.
You found Cincinnati's ESPN 1530.
Get ready to win your way to our 2024 iHeartRadio Music Festival, presented by Capital One, and $1,000.
T-Mobile Arena here in Las Vegas,
September 20th and 21st.
Streaming live only on Hulu.
Buy tickets now at AXS.com.
the human soul requires a minimum daily requirement of entertainment. Welcome to MGM Rewards. With the greatest live shows on earth, they have all the entertainment you can handle and more. Book now and make the most of your Vegas getaway at MGMRewards.com.
Are you a chronic interrupter? Incapable of letting other people talk? Do those people ask, how do you sleep at night? Then you should go to Mattress Firm. They have a 120-night sleep trial so you can get your money back if a bed's not right. That way anyone, even someone like you, can sleep. Get matched at Mattress Firm. Sleep at night. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
It's better over here. If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has an exclusive rate plan just for you. Right now, get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings versus Verizon and AT&T. Plus, you can get one of the latest 5G phones free when you add a line. That's right, a free 5G phone. Experience all this and more on America's largest 5G network. So why wait? At T-Mobile, customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Just go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 or visit your local store to make the switch.
With AutoPay using debit or bank account plus taxes and fees, 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Free phones up to $300 off with 24 monthly bill credits and qualifying new line for well-qualified customers plus tax and $35 device connection charge. Contact us before canceling entire account to continue remaining bill credits. Bill credits end if you pay off device early. See details at T-Mobile.com.
Some people just know the best rate for you is a rate based on you with Allstate. And look at you, hands perfectly placed on the wheel. Not like the driver to the right of you who's really going after that drum solo. Save with DriveWise and the Allstate app and only pay a rate based on you.
Not available in every state, subject to terms and conditions. Rating factors and savings vary, and in some states your rate could increase with high-risk driving. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
WEBN is bringing the boom with the Western and Southern WEBN fireworks. Thanks to Western and Southern Financial Group, Turfway Park Racing and Gaming, Delta Dental, Tri-State Kia Dealers, Johnstone Supply, the Grimmy Group, Verizon, Kroger, the Cincinnati Warbirds, Skyline, Hawksworth Blood Center. Booms Day is September 1st. We'll see you there.
ESPN 1530 Cincinnati. Available everywhere with the iHeartRadio app. Now #1 for podcasting. ESPN 1530, an iHeartRadio station.
To kick off in a little less than 45 minutes from now, we are getting you ready for that game and all the college football action headed your way this season. But one of the things that's notable about this college football season is that we don't have a Nick Saban in it anymore. We don't have a Jim Harbaugh in it anymore. And Rashad, some people would say that that means that we don't have a villain anymore in college football. Do you think that college football needs a villain?
I don't think it necessarily needs a villain, but if you want to have a good story, you got to find one. And I think college football will find one here soon. Who could pop up and be that person? Not sure. But listen, we do know Alabama's always been Alabama. DeBoer, he has an opportunity to become that villain over there. If he comes in straight away and wins a lot of games, it's still back on who Alabama is. They never left. They never dropped. They just changed the face. And so there's an opportunity. I'll tell you one thing that Tom Coughlin always said to me that always stuck with me. He said, Rashad, he pulled me aside one day. He said, faces may change, but the expectations never will. And that's what creates a great franchise. So we'll see if they got an opportunity still to be the villain over there in Alabama.
So, Amber, this is the first time, I think, ever that number 1 and number 2 who finished the season number 1 and number 2 in the AP poll, that was Michigan, that was Alabama, that they don't have the same coach the next season. Never happened before. And those two guys happen to be, like you're talking about, if, to a lot of college football fans, villains. Nick Saban, Jim Harbaugh, certainly Harbaugh based on everything, the way Michigan has been, slapped on the wrist and all of that stuff. So it's tough now to find a villain because, for instance, you look at Georgia and Kirby Smart, and I'm thinking about it. All right, well, Alabama ruled the SEC for so many years. Even though Georgia's had this run over the last, really like 3, 4, 5 years. Alabama ruled the SEC for so long, ruled college football for so long. Nick Saban clearly the villain. So is Kirby Smart now a villain? And I don't think so. Like, I don't feel that way. But there are a couple of other guys, for instance, Ole Miss enters the season at number 6. All right. Is Ole Miss – apparently this is as good a roster that Ole Miss has ever had. Apparently the talent is right up there with teams like Alabama, like Texas. And you got Lane Kiffin, who is easy – he's easy to dislike. But if you have followed Lane Kiffin at all over the last really year or two, this is a much more mature version of Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, he's still Lane Kiffin. Right?
That's
he's
right.
Still sitting up there going off about I don't know how many grams of sugar there's in Coca-Cola. And
that's right.
Brian Kelly doing the opposite. So we still get that stuff from Lane Kiffin. You're right. He's much more mature than earlier in his career, and maybe even a bit more tempered than Boca Lane Kiffin when he was at FAU in our neck of the woods. But the reality is that's a good nomination because Lane Kiffin's got the personality. The thing is, Rashad, I think it's got to be more than just winning because otherwise Georgia, you could already argue, would kind of already be there because, I mean, really, Paul Feinbaum says that the Alabama dynasty was already over, that it wasn't over on Nick Saban's departure, that it was over a few years ago because really Kirby Smart in Georgia had taken control of the SEC. And so if you look at it that way, then you're thinking, okay, well, Nick Saban wasn't really anymore in a position to even be the master villain, but he still was. I think some of it is personality. I don't know if Kirby Smart has that personality where he becomes the automatic villain, but I kind of feel like Lane Kiffin does, Rashad, right? Where you have to be easy to like and easy to hate simultaneously to be a villain.
You really do, and I think he possesses that. It's just based upon the team, right? Too to become the villain, obviously you have to be successful. I mean, there's no other way to do that. You have to be good, and I think that obviously they're a good team, and so could they be in the SEC? Sure, but it's just hard for me to move off of the fact that, where it's been for so long and who Alabama has been to the SEC for so long, you can't just deny the fact that all eyes are going to be on them, very much so, to see how they perform under a new head coach moving away from Nick Saban. And if they come out the gate with a high-scoring game, it's back to them.
Yeah. I mean, I think Kalen DeBoer is so far he seems pretty likable, but to Rashad's point, if Bama is still good, it'll be so annoying. It'll be so annoying if they can make a seamless transition. God, the thought of that just irks my soul as a Gators fan. But it's potentially possible. And so maybe Bama ends up still the big bad Bama at the end of the day, if they're able to do that. Michelle Smallman, host of Unsportsmanlike right here on ESPN Radio, brought up a different nomination on Unsportsmanlike this week. She headed to Colorado. Take a listen.
Deion will be the villain because of his personality, because of the brand, because of how outspoken he and his players are. But I anticipate that it's going to follow the same trajectory that it did last season. We're going to talk about Colorado. We're going to talk about Deion. He's going to say something inflammatory that's going to get people upset. But just like last year, Evan, based on where I think this Colorado program is probably going to dissipate by week 5.
Zaslow, Deion Sanders has the personality to be polarizing, right? He's got the personality. He certainly has the hype, and he certainly has the attention. Is Deion bleeping Sanders, okay? So he's always going to be part of the news cycle. But at the same time, the problem with the Buffaloes, and I think the Buffaloes are going to be much improved this year, by the way, but you're talking about a 4-8 team from last year. So how much of a villain can you be unless you're out here truly winning things at a significant level? And I don't know if they're going to be able to do that.
Amber, you win 4 games, you're not a villain. All right? The villain doesn't get beat up by everybody. You don't go to the Marvel movie in the theaters, all right, and the villain gets his butt kicked every other scene. That's what's happening with Deion in Colorado. Now, in order for Deion to be the villain, they have to be much improved. I know their offensive line is supposed to be a whole lot better this year. Shedeur Sanders, as good as he was last year, was running for his life, taking a lot of hits last year. So that would go a long way toward Colorado having some success. And the thing is, if we're looking for a villain in college football, Deion can absolutely be that guy because he's all about shaking up the system. He's all about doing things differently. Heck, Rashad and I were talking last night on Amber and Ian on the Road where Deion and Colorado, but really Dion, they have already revoked credentials from a columnist there in Colorado because of the things that he has written, negative things that he's written about Dion. I mean, come on. If you're not allowing certain guys in the interview room and to cover the team, that's villain-type stuff. But you got to have more than 4 wins.
Yeah, you have to more than 4 wins, Rashawn.
You definitely do. And to that, I think Deion Sanders has and is the media's villain for sure, without a shadow of a doubt. But when we talk about fandom, it's hard for it's going back to you're 4-8. You're not really dominating anything. You're trying to make your way. You're just Deion Sanders. But 100%. He's going to be the newsline every single week. But that's a media thing. So to the media, Deion Sanders is and will continue to be that.
Well, you're not helping placate to the media by taking away media passes for games. Coming up next, is it a make it or break it season for Ryan Day?
Hey, it's Greeny. Don't look now, but football season is underway.
Do you have trouble getting in and out of the bathtub? Are you afraid you'll slip and fall entering or exiting a tub? Safe Step walk-in tubs can transform your bathtub from an area of concern to a calming refuge. Call them today at 1-800-731-4558 and save $1,600. Safe Step walk-in tubs and showers are proudly made in Tennessee and offer an ultra-low step-in, avoiding that difficult climb over a traditional bathtub wall. They also offer a variety of therapeutic benefits that may help soothe your aching muscles and joints, increasing your mobility, boosting your energy, and improving your sleep. Safe Step walk-in tubs are designed to easily fit your existing tub space and are often installed in as little as 1 day. Just dial 1-800-731-4558 today to save $1,600 and receive a free shower package. That's 1-800-731-4558 for a free no-obligation consultation and to save $1,600. Safe Step walk-in tubs. Safety never felt so good.
ESPN 1530.
Okay, true stories from Huntington with Veronica and her banker, Roger.
Veronica, you were nervous about trying to get a home. Why's that?
Nobody likes to hear the word no. You know, one day I just said, okay, I'm going to go talk to the banker.
How'd it go, Roger?
If there was a bump in the road, we hit it. But we navigated right through it. Veronica kept pushing.
Get more than money from your bank. Welcome to Huntington. Real people compensated for true stories. Loan subject to credit application and approval. Equal housing lender.
For decades, the mafia had New York City in a stranglehold. But the murder of Carmichael Lanti marked the beginning of the end.
It sent the message that we can prosecute these people.
From the minds behind the acclaimed television series, listen to Law and Order: Criminal Justice System on America's #1 podcast network, iHeart. Open your free iHeart Radio app and search Law and Order: Criminal Justice System and start listening.
Guess what, people? Wendy's has new saucy nugs. You heard me. Wendy's nugs now come in 7 saucy flavors. Buffalo, honey barbecue, garlic parm, spicy ghost pepper. You can literally hear your taste buds after every bite. I'm serious. Listen to mine. Okay, that's just me playing with sound effects, but you got the idea. For a whole new way to nug, gotta be Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's.
If you or a loved one has sleep apnea, you can help advance research that may lead to a cure. myapnea.org is an online community where providers, researchers, families, and patients can share and learn from each other. Fill out the online survey and wake up to a better future at myapnea.org, a public service from the American Sleep Apnea Association.
Mo Egger.
Let's pretend that today is the day after the Bengals,
the voice of the Tri-State sports fan,
have just won the Super Bowl.
Mo Egger, Monday at 3 on ESPN 1530.
The top 12. They are guaranteed a spot. They got to get in there.
Heather Dinich on Amber and Ian. The other games on the schedule today, Montana State at New Mexico, SMU plays at Nevada, and Delaware State at Hawaii. We've got baseball today here on ESPN Radio. The Astros and the Orioles at Camden Yards. Our coverage starts at 3:30 Eastern Time. 2 championship games at the Little League World Series today, starting at 12:30 Eastern on ABC. First up, Chinese Taipei and Venezuela play for the international title. That one's followed by the U.S. championship game between Lake Mary, Florida, and Boerne, Texas. Michael McDowell wins the pole for tonight's NASCAR Cup Series race at Daytona. Teammate Todd Gilliland will also be in the front row. Lando Norris wins the pole for tomorrow's Formula One Dutch Grand Prix.
Hey, it's Michelle Smallman. Coming up Monday, as the Chiefs attempt to three-peat, I'll tell you the one quarterback that can stop Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. It's on Sportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
College Tailgate.
This is College Tailgate, where we get you ready for college football. The slate headed your way. College football is back, baby. It is week 0 of the college football season in just about 30 minutes from now. From Dublin, Ireland, because nothing says college ball like Ireland and the Irish. From Dublin, Ireland, we are going to get the kickoff of Georgia Tech, Florida State. We will keep you updated on that game throughout the day here on ESPN Radio. You, of course, can always listen to us on the ESPN app as well. All of that is presented to you by Progressive Insurance. Rashad Jennings, Zaslow, Amber Wilson, we're all hanging out with you here on College Tailgate, and we are getting you ready for all the college football action, which really ramps up next week with week 1, including Ohio State will be kicking off their season against Akron. And maybe no seat is hotter or no pressure is higher than what's happening right now with Ryan Day over an absolutely loaded Ohio State team from a talent perspective. So let's head to Buckeye Nation. Tony Gerdeman, Buckeye Huddle lead beat writer, kind enough to join us. And Tony, thanks so much for your time. What does a successful season look like this year for Ohio State?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, it starts with a win over Michigan. The other thing, though, is it can't end with you can't have a win over Michigan and then play Michigan again and lose to them, because that's a possibility this year and playing multiple teams multiple times. So it starts with beating Michigan. The goals every year are beat Michigan, win the Big Ten, and then whatever happens after that, you put yourself in a place to compete for a national championship. And so that is what is considered a successful season, a win over Michigan, a Big Ten championship, and then whatever else is happening after that. And I know expectations are very, very high. The term natty or bust has been mentioned by some of the players, but as I keep trying to remind people, this is going to be the most difficult national championship to win in the history of college football. So for anybody to expect it to happen to their team, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Tony, is the criticism, slash pressure of Ryan Day, is it fair?
The pressure is fair because it's Ohio State, and it's the same place, same at Georgia or Alabama or wherever. When you put yourself up there like that, the pressure is fair. The criticism, the criticism, talking about his job is on the line or anything like that. It took Jim Harbaugh 7 years to beat Ohio State. It took John Cooper lost to Michigan 10 times before he was fired, and he was only fired because he lost the control of his team as well. So, the criticism when you've made the playoffs, when you have won the Big Ten, he does have a couple of Big Ten championships. He does have a win over Michigan. You don't want to lose 3 in a row to Michigan. You certainly don't want to lose 4 in a row, with 2 of those coming at home. So, the criticism is it's not fair, not fair. He's making $10 million a year, so say what you want. But it is interesting that it is so definitive that he needs to do this, or who knows what could happen to him. And I'll just I don't think it's that bad in terms of the end of days. He needs to win this game. But also, if he doesn't, there are other ways to salvage the season. If they lost in 2021 or 2022 to Michigan, but they were within a field goal of beating Georgia. If they would beat Georgia and go on to win a national championship, people aren't so hung up about that loss to Michigan anymore. So there are ways to get around a loss to Michigan, but it gets tougher and tougher if it keeps happening.
It definitely gets tougher and tougher, and appreciate you on the show. Do you feel like with Michigan, not having Harbaugh anymore, are there excuses there anymore? And what does that do, taking a loss against Michigan, if it happens to the fan base because they understand Harbaugh is no longer there?
Yeah, no, it's not going to be received well. But again, there are things that you can do to make up for it, but you better win it all. getting to the championship game is not necessarily enough to overcome that loss. And, in terms of excuses, like Ohio State has the better team, or they have, on paper, they have the better team. They have the home game advantage, the home field advantage, which I put a lot of stock in. Rivalries that can get thrown out the window a little bit, but Ohio State has enough talent to win the job, to get the job done. They have the venue, but the pressure is, that might be the deciding factor in all of this, because Michigan has virtually no pressure this year in this game and pretty much this season. But that can also be a curse when you go into a season as Michigan, where you are still celebrating your national championship. And, saw it with Ohio State in 2015. They were a bit fat and happy with how things went the year before, and it didn't go so well for them following up. So, yeah, again, don't lose to Michigan. They should know they're going to be favored. I think right now they're around like an 8 to 11 point favorite, depending on what you're looking at. So, all signs point to an Ohio State win, which is maybe even more pressure.
Well, don't lose to Michigan any of the times, because as you mentioned,
yes,
they may end up seeing this Michigan team multiple times this college football season. The first of those, though, the one that we know will definitely happen, November 30th, the Michigan Wolverines are at the Ohio State Buckeyes. That will be a noon Eastern game. Tony Gerdeman, Buckeye Huddle lead beat writer, kind enough to join us here on College Tailgate. So, Tony, here's one of the things that I'm confused about, though, about the Ryan Day experience. And I understand that you're saying that he maybe has more job security than people are giving it credit for, that you don't think that seat is as hot as maybe sometimes we act like it is on the outside looking in. I don't really understand why it's hot at all, because here's the thing that I'm looking at with Ohio State this year, and correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, you're talking about arguably the most talented roster in college football, the deepest roster, I would argue, in college football. They retained almost every non-senior NFL draft hopeful. They made key portal additions. Obviously, they recruited well. Isn't all of that reflective of success of Ryan Day, even if he ends up dropping one against Michigan?
Yes, that is. You're speaking the truth there in that one, and that's why, losing to any type of playoff team, and the last few years it's been to a team that has made the Final Four. I don't see that as a fireball offense. I keep telling people, you lose to Indiana 4 times in a row, then we're going to talk. But yeah, there's a lot of positive things going on at Ohio State. You look at Ryan Day's winning percentage; he's 40-something-0 against all Big Ten teams other than Michigan. Who else are you going to get? That sort of thing. Who is going to do better? And if you do better by, they're going to beat Michigan more. That's fine, but what else are they doing? Because things are. The culture's really good. You talk to players, you talk to people outside the program. People are happy there. They win the games they're supposed to win. They like a lot of teams. Once you have, as Ryan Day says, the matchup games, you got to win more of those. And I think when some of the issues, maybe they get a little tight against Michigan. I think we've seen that a little bit. And when you get tight, it's easier to break. We saw that in 2022. And so there are just some issues that each year they go into something trying to fix those issues. And then there's a lot of focus on that. And sometimes maybe that creates more issues. It's got to be a little bit freer, which I think Michigan has been able to do well. But overall, there's a lot of good things going on at Ohio State. And it's interesting that there's so much put into this one outcome when there are more things that can happen. But this is also the best rivalry in sports. So, it should carry a lot of weight. But it's just one thing. There's always an extenuating circumstance that gets an Ohio State coach fired. It's not losing to Michigan. It's losing to Michigan and this. Or you don't even have to lose to Michigan to get fired. You can do something else. So it's the biggest thing, but it's not the only thing,
Tony, we know what the games are that the Ohio State fan and alum, they circle on the calendar when it comes out. It's Michigan and it's Penn State and it's Iowa. But now October 12th, Oregon, Ohio State at Oregon. How does the new team, how does Oregon coming over into the Big Ten factor into, I guess the excitement level from the Ohio State fan? Do they already look at that game as the next biggest after Michigan?
Yeah, for sure. And you've got a segment of Ohio State fans that don't like to admit that Penn State is a rivalry. So you'll probably have that same thing where, with Oregon, it's like, yes, we acknowledge them, but you don't want to give them more credit than they deserve. Also, Oregon came into Ohio Stadium a couple years ago and ran the ball on the Buckeyes and beat them by a couple of touchdowns. So there is some recent history between the two programs. They played in the Rose Bowl not too long ago. They played national championship games. So there's already a history there that is built in. And yeah, that one is, I know a lot of people they've got their tickets, or they've got their plane tickets at least, and they've got their hotels booked. But that one's going to be a fun one because it's a new era for sure. And you go into any Big Ten season before the expansion, and you're like, well, you got, like I said, you got Michigan, you got Penn State, and wherever this, another random road game like at Iowa, you got to worry about, or something like that. At Wisconsin is never an easy one, but now you throw in Oregon, you throw in UCLA, you throw in USC and Washington, and random years, and it creates more anticipation, but also it creates more opportunities for losses, which is always, that's always going to be the hang-up when you look at the schedule, and Buckeye fans are excited about it, but then concerned about what might happen on the road out west.
Well, the Buckeyes will kick things off next week against an in-state rival, maybe not a big one, but Akron will be at Ohio State Saturday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern next week. Tony Gerdeman, you can check out all of his stuff, the Buckeye Huddle lead beat writer. Thanks so much, Tony. We appreciate your time.
All right, you guys have a good one.
Coming up next year on College Tailgate, this offseason, we saw a ton of conference realignment. I mean, it's hard to even keep track of, but how's it all going to play out this season? We'll get into that. That's next, right here on ESPN Radio.
Down to kickoff.
This place is going to rock! Magic from Michigan, touchdown!
We ain't got next. We got now. Campus to campus, team to team.
Living the moment that every single kid dreams about. Oh, back in time.
That countdown rolls on right here on ESPN Radio.
You found Cincinnati's ESPN 1530.
From the Wyoming Air Tempstar Weather Center, here's your forecast.
Welcome to the weekend and a bit more heat here in the tri-state. Temperatures start in the mid-60s and warm to 89, 90-ish for this afternoon. The sky will be mostly sunny and humidity slowly but surely rising. Tonight down to only 68, so warm. And then your Sunday forecast will be partly cloudy with a high of 92. Again, a little bit more humid where you'll feel it's sticky outside. That's the forecast. I'm 9 First Warning meteorologist Jennifer Ketchmark.
This report is sponsored by AutoZone. Get in the zone. The free AutoZone Fix Finder service can help you troubleshoot the likely cause of your pesky check engine light for free and help you save time and money down the road. Restrictions apply. Get in the zone. AutoZone.
Hey, if you're listening to me right now, I have one thing every business needs most: attention. Think about it. We swipe and scroll past stuff all day, but when we're driving, cooking, working out, we're also listening. That's the magic of audio at iHeart. We're in your next customer's ears while they're living life and listening, just like you are right now. So get your customers to listen up today using radio, digital, and podcasts. Call 844-ADD-HELP-5. That's 844-ADD-HELP-5.
Hey, it's Mo Egger. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, right? Well, we've got something a little different for you. Check this out. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. You heard me right. All FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Just go to FanDuel.com/Mo and download America's #1 sportsbook, FanDuel.com/MO. 21 plus and present in Ohio. Full price of NFL Sunday Ticket will be automatically charged seasonally after free trial. No refunds, terms, restrictions, and embargoes apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
As far back as she can remember, Amy loved computers. How they worked, what they could do. They were a challenge. She wanted to learn as much as she could. So she harnessed her passion, and now she's a cybersecurity officer in the military. If you have a passion, a vision for your future in any field, todaysmilitary.com can be your path to a fulfilling career. You have a calling, we have an answer. Find your way at todaysmilitary.com.
I'm Tim McGraw, and I have a challenge for you. Millions of Americans have type 2 diabetes, and I've seen how it impacts people from all walks of life. If you have diabetes, accept my challenge at americasdiabeteschallenge.com.
You know us. We know the NFL.
The official home of the Bengals.
Cincinnati's ESPN 1530.
College Tailgate.
This is College Tailgate, where we get you ready for the college football slate. College football week 0 action headed your way on ESPN. Florida State, Georgia Tech. They're in a place called Dublin, Ireland. It's a little far away, but they seem like they're fired up. They were
not in the budget to send us this week. Not in the budget.
No, and by us, I mean Rashad Jennings, Jonathan Zaslow, Amber Wilson. We're all here with you here on College Tailgate, presented to you by Progressive Insurance. They are fired up. They just showed them on ESPN. The Florida State Seminoles players were out on the field for warm-ups. They're all jumping all over each other. They're getting ready to go. Doesn't look like anyone's had too much Guinness yet.
How about the fans, Amber? Like the FSU alum, I imagine Georgia Tech too, but the alum where they're just like, all right, well, we're playing in Dublin. Guess we're booking a ticket. We're gonna go to the game. Amazing.
Now I know for you, somebody who never leaves Cooper City, Florida.
There's nothing outside here that I need. Everything I need is right here.
Circumstances, okay, which is a suburb, by the way, of essentially. Of
it gets wild
County,
here. All right,
Fort Lauderdale, Cooper City, Florida. For those of you who aren't familiar, for somebody who never leaves Cooper City, Florida, then I can understand why for you that would seem like a crazy concept. But Rashad, now this is a different perspective from a fan probably than a player, Rashad. But obviously, I've spent my life as a football fan. You've spent your life as a football player. As a football fan, I will tell you, I would absolutely follow my team to Dublin, Ireland, because it sounds like a hell of an excuse to take a fun vacation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, fans love the fans. And as the player, you'd be surprised at how many players would rather, instead of going anywhere, they'd rather just stay at home, watch the game on TV, be able to use their own bathroom, eat their own food, and actually see it better from a lot of perspectives. But it's nothing like being out there. I tell you, we love the fans.
I do agree. I'm not surprised to hear that, Zaslow, because I do think of, when I think of former players, I do think of them as wanting like the confines of really their couch so that they can watch game film, essentially. It's like what they're doing when they watch these games, because you're tuned into a different perspective than the fan. And Zaz, to Rashad's point, if you're in Dublin right now, you're not seeing the game quite as well, I suppose, through all my Guinness.
Well, I'm telling you, like we're taking this show on the road starting next week, week 1. We're literally at the best games every single week starting next week, Florida and Miami. We're at amazing venues, the best games, and like I'm making my travel schedule. And I'm booking the flights and all that stuff. And it's like, for someone who doesn't do a lot of traveling like myself, it's like,
yeah, it doesn't leave.
Whoa, this is a lot of getting on planes and going to places. I don't think there's a single city here, well, except Atlanta, because you got the national championship there and the SEC championship, and we're going to those. Outside of Atlanta, I don't think there's a single city that I've ever been to. Obviously, Gainesville, I went to school there. But otherwise, I've never been to any of these places.
You've never been to Ann Arbor. You've never been to Madison. The first 4 weeks. So you were in for a treat.
None of these.
So we're in
Rouge,
Gainesville,
Tuscaloosa. Yeah. None of these places. I've never been to any of these places.
So College Tailgate, we're in Gainesville, as Zaslow mentioned, for week 1. Canes, Gators, go Gators. We know that's not going to end well for Miami. Then we're at Texas, at Michigan, Bama at Wisconsin, UCLA at LSU, all new experiences for the man who doesn't leave Cooper City, Florida.
I got to go out like Rashad. We're going to go out. I'm going to try new foods, all right? You know, we're going to try some new stuff together, all right? So we're going to get I'm going to get after it in these college towns, all right?
Now, Rashad, how many of these towns have you been to? Because you went to Liberty, so you weren't playing, these SEC scheduled teams and stuff like that. So how many of these towns have you actually?
Yeah, are you familiar with any of these places?
Absolutely. It's so funny why and how I'm familiar with these places. It's not because I traveled there while I played college football.
Because of
It's
Dancing
not
with the
because
Stars.
I was in the NFL. It's because I was on Dancing with the Stars,
Amazing.
won the show, and then I went on tour. I was on a tour bus sightseeing the entire country and dancing. So I saw a lot of these places just because of dancing. It's awesome.
Okay, Amber, hold on a second. Now, I knew, Rashad and I have not talked about this yet.
I thought you were kidding when you said, I knew he was on Dancing with the Stars. I thought when Zaslow said it's because of Dancing with the Stars, it was a joke, but it's
they do like a tour afterward. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Okay, now, Rashad and I have not talked about this yet. Obviously, I knew, although I think maybe a lot of our listeners are hearing it for the first time, that Rashad Jennings, former NFL running back, was on Dancing with the Stars. But you'll have to forgive me because I'm not a frequent watcher of Dancing with the Stars, so you have to forgive me when I just took note. Rashad, did you say you won Dancing with the Stars?
Yeah, correct. I actually won Dancing with the Stars. It's crazy time of my life. I don't know how I won it. Thank you, everybody who voted. I appreciate you. And but then they sent me on a tour. I literally was on a bus traveling around the USA, hopping out every night in different cities, dancing in front of people, meeting people. If you would have told me if my head coach would have said, Rashad, don't worry, 10 years from now you're going to be traveling the U.S. dancing, I'd be like, make it out of here. I don't even know what dancing is. So I enjoyed it. I really did.
You and your partner Slater, you guys won the competition in 2017.
Wow. Yep. I did not know
you were
that
the fourth NFL player to win the show. So NFL players have done very, very well, it seems like, on Dancing with the Stars. Apparently, Rashad, there is a connection that suggests between playing football and being able to dance ballroom dancing.
Well,
off.
Well, Rashad, I would especially assume at running back. I mean, you got to be really good with your feet.
Yeah, you do. You have to be nimble on your feet. And I will say this, doing that show, one thing you have to be good at is taking criticism and being coached. A lot of people that go on that show aren't used to somebody grilling them and telling them what they're not doing right every single day of their life. And so football players were used to that. So I think that bode a little advantage.
Well, look at that. So Rashad will be going back to all of his old stomping grounds. And by stomping grounds, we quite literally mean stomping because he's dancing in all these locations that we will be on the road for College Tailgate here on ESPN Radio. Tune in to ESPN Radio tomorrow night. Baseball action. Orioles host the Astros. Coverage of Sunday Night Baseball begins at 6 p.m. Eastern right here on ESPN Radio and on the ESPN app. And you can check it out at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. And we'll keep you updated. Speaking of on ESPN, we'll keep you updated on Florida State, Georgia Tech when that game does in fact kick off. But guys, conference realignment. Let's do this real quick here because conference realignment, the SEC, Zaslow, has 16 teams. The Big 12 is really the Big 16 because they have 16 teams. The Big 10 is really the Big 18 because they have 18 teams. I mean, these names mean nothing anymore in college football.
I remember I went on ESPN.com like a month and a half ago or something. I wanted to look up some stuff with the Big Ten, and I pull up the standings. Like, Big Ten, there's 24 teams in this conference.
Like, why are we calling it Big Ten still? So crazy changes across the college football world. Texas, Oklahoma, USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington, Colorado, Utah, Arizona State, SMU, like Cal, I mean, Stanford, like everyone's moving. Everyone's in different situations than they were just a season ago. So with the new landscape, Heather Dinich was on Amber and Ian last night with the guys, and she was asked who are the sleeper teams in the Power Four.
Penn State is a team that might be able to make some noise if they can get Drew Aller to get some more explosive plays in his passing game. James Franklin has another team like Ole Miss I mentioned that would have qualified last year. LSU is a team that's on the rise. But I think Notre Dame is a team that can have a really special season under Marcus Freeman. And I don't think a lot of people are talking about them.
And maybe the reason, Rashad, a lot of people aren't talking about Notre Dame is because, frankly, they're not part of one of these conferences.
Absolutely, and not being part of the conference, you know, they get to set their own schedule. They get to set the power rankings seriously of who they play. You know, so it's difficult to talk about them, but their strength of schedule this year is not as strong as it was in previous years. Mm-hmm. So, but it does put them in a position to be in the driver's seat to kind of get in that fifth position, though.
You know, Amber, it's interesting. Notre Dame, obviously, they set their own schedule, and to make sure they get the recognition recognition, they have to set a really difficult schedule since they're not affiliated with a conference. But I do wonder, since we now have a 12-team college football playoff, when you see these huge out-of-conference games, especially out-of-conference games to start a season, schedules are set years in advance. There's nothing you can do about it this year, next year, probably not even the year after. But are the teams that have national championship aspirations, are they going to stop scheduling those big out-of-conference games? Because the bottom line is, if you win your conference and you're a Power 4 team, you're getting in the playoff.
But you won't be in a position to necessarily be able to do that. And the rankings still matter. And the College Football Playoff Committee rankings still matter. They end up ultimately determining the seedings. Rankings and seedings being two separate things. With the College Football Playoff Committee, they have said over and over again that they take into account strength of schedule. And so they're still going to take into account strength of schedule. So you don't want to go undefeated but have played nobody when you're now living in a world where you can play a whole lot of somebody and drop a few games, which will be the difference there. So I think now there's less of a reason, frankly, than there used to be. Coming up next on College Tailgate, we continue on. Plenty of college football action, plus Florida State, Georgia Tech to get you ready for.
Greeny.
Let's live in a world where Michigan did all of the things that they are being accused of doing.
That's the ease at which you get information. You want it, you get it. Like that. Ask your phone. Group chat. Smartphone. You're always connected and informed in real time. No waiting. So if you're diabetic and still using finger sticks to read your blood sugar, what are you waiting for? Knowing your blood sugar levels instantly is important for managing diabetes. Call US Med at 888-665-0696. To learn more about continuous glucose monitors, a real-time instant method to track your blood glucose. US Med is an approved provider for Medicare and over 1,000 private insurers. And the best part? Call 888-665-0696 and we'll give you a free insurance benefits check today. So call 888-665-0696 today. That's 888-665-0696 and manage your diabetes as easy as
ESPN 1530, Cincinnati's sports station.
For decades, the mafia had New York City in a stranglehold, but the murder of Carmine Galante marked the beginning of the end.
It sent the message that we can prosecute these people.
From the minds behind the acclaimed television series, listen